right, the next page is more like campus-wide DBC policies and procedures. So the previous page was really specific to our class. And then page 5 is going to be just DBC in general. Access to technology, super crucial for online learning. You can follow this web link for more information from the campus. But I do want to kind of point out that we have this program in the library called Laptop Loan, where like you have to go to campus and you have to go into the library and you have to have a student ID card, which I know like as an online student, not everybody bothers to even get one. But if you want to do the laptop loan, you have to have an ID card. But you can go into the library and borrow a laptop that you can use within the library. So you can like take it to a study station and do your work that way. So like if you run into some emergency, like maybe you spilled your drink onto your keyboard, or I don't know what happens, life, it happens. You can do that. There's resources on campus for helping you with that. Or you can just hopefully you have a really good friend who will let you stay up late at their place and do all your work on their computer. Who knows? All right, moving on. Academic integrity. So beside having access to technology, academic integrity is super, super big on procedures and policies. Academic dishonesty is defined as an act of deception in which a student claims credit for the work or effort of another person, or uses unauthorized materials or fabricated information in any academic work. So if you claim the credit for the work or effort of another person, that's either you, straight copied word for word what somebody else has written or said. Like maybe you watched a TED Talk and you're like, oh, that's so smart. And then you put it into your paper. Plagiarism. Even if you are paraphrasing that idea, if you don't credit the source, so if you don't introduce like who said that, so who said those ideas and where you heard them, that's academic dishonesty. It's still plagiarism, even if you transfer it into your own words. If you're not citing the source, then you're taking credit for that other person's ideas. If you use unauthorized materials, so if your essay doesn't say use a bunch of outside sources to come up with ideas, like especially in the essay number 1, well, even in essay number 2, our first essay is going to be an advertisement analysis essay. And if you research a bunch of advertisement analysis and then sort of just repeat that in your own words, that's academic dishonesty. Now, if you, cite those sources that you used to help you get started and to help you get generating those ideas, if you cite those sources and bring them into your paper and then say, I agree with what this person said, and here's why based on the advertisement that I'm analyzing, or, I disagree with what this person said and here's why based on the advertisement I'm analyzing, that's not plagiarism. That's not academic dishonesty, because you're clearly stating what source you consulted and how it connected to your work. So don't do academic dishonesty. If you do commit one type of academic dishonesty on an assignment, I will give you like a warning, because a lot of times some people don't understand exactly what academic dishonesty is, or often too, they never had a teacher that really cared about academic dishonesty, but I really do care. And I care not only about preventing it, like I don't just want to be like, oh, I want to punish all the plagiarizers in the world. I just want to help you all understand, what's plagiarism, what's fair, and what's unfair. And then how to use sources in your paper in a fair way. I don't want to discourage you from doing research. I just want to help you understand how to integrate that resource without trying to act like that was your idea. because that's one step closer to being able to really generate your own ideas on the topic from the get-go. So if you have one academic dishonesty, I'll give you a warning. We will have a conversation about it. So like we'll chat about it, we'll email back and forth. And then you can redo the assignment and you can still get it for like full credit, you know, like the same as it was. So if you turned it in on time and it had plagiarism and I was like, oh, whoops, there's some plagiarism, you can redo the assignment and we'll still treat it like it was on time. So you get one freebie kind of. If you do it again, like if there's like another plagiarism, then on that assignment, you'll receive no credit. So you'll get a 0. And then I'll file a plagiarism report, which is, it's kind of like a code of conduct violation form. And it, you know, it goes to the dean of the English Social Science Division, and it does show on your transfer record. And then if there's a third plagiarism, I will drop you from the class and I'll file a second academic code of conduct violation form, which will, you know, it'll go on your record. But for each time, like if you are accused of plagiarism and you sincerely disagree. I mean, I've never had a student who like sincerely disagreed. Like most people know when they plagiarized something. But we can always like schedule a meeting with the dean and go in and we can talk so that you can sort of like express yourself and express your side of the story. Maybe like you can tell how you did come up with that idea on your own. Because like I would never want to falsely accuse somebody of plagiarizing something. So I just want you guys to know, you know, I'm going to be doing my job, which is looking out for plagiarism. But part of my job also is helping to make sure that your side of the story is heard and that everything, you know, works out fairly. So I just want to tell you, in this class or in other classes, if you ever get a plagiarism violation and you really disagree with it, you can go to the dean of the department of the class that you got that report in, and you guys can work it out to where your side of the story is heard. Okay, that's academic integrity. Next, to help you overcome the temptation to be dishonest, we have academic support. So we have free tutoring in the Learning Center, and we have free tutoring through NetTutor. So please use those services if you're ever maybe like insecure about your paper, or if you like finished something and you have like extra time before the due date. You know, run it through. Usually on the NetTutor, it takes like 24 to 48 hours to get feedback. So you do have to watch out for the timing. And then also with the tutoring center, there's like regular tutoring sessions. So if you're like really struggling with grammar, or if you're really studying or struggling with like doing quotations, or math, if you're really struggling with some math stuff, like you can get regular scheduled tutoring appointments, and those are free through your tuition. And then there's appointments. So you can schedule, if you just have one assignment that you want help with, you can schedule like a 15-minute appointment to help with that. And then there's, I guess actually the appointments, I think they're like 30 minutes or something. But then there's drop-in tutoring too. So that's like if you wrote a paper and you want to get it like proofread really quickly by like a fresh set of eyes, you can have them like just proofread your paper. They'll catch any like mistakes, and then they have computers in there too, so you can just like upload your draft like on a flash drive, or if you're using Google, you can just fix it right then and there, print it out and turn it in. Or if it's for my class, you know, save it and upload it to Canvas for turning it in. All right, and so that's academic support through the tutoring center. And then there's academic support through the library. So when you're doing research, librarians are super excellent sources Like they know like all the sources. So they're really helpful at like pointing you toward, things to research. But they're also really helpful with formatting your works cited. So if you have like a web source and you're just like, how do I even cite this? And like you go to the Purdue OWL website and even that doesn't make sense to you. Like you can go to a librarian and ask them for help and they will help you. And you can get in touch with them through chat too. If you log into the library, there's like chat with a librarian. All right, counseling support. So DVC offers both like academic counseling and like personal crisis type counseling. So for academic counseling, there are services to help you explore your major, plan your education, transfer to a four-year institution, or transfer from school into the professional work field. So they have drop-in sessions or scheduled appointments. And then there's also crisis counseling and support services for when you run into those issues like homelessness, hunger and food insecurity. Like if you can't afford to eat, you can't think and you can't work and you can't write papers if you're hungry. So we have services on campus to help with that. If you find yourself in a violent situation and you need help getting out, we have services for that too, especially if you go into the police services on campus. But in the student services building, or you can call the phone number listed here, there's help that way too. Substance abuse, so maybe you found yourself getting a little too indulgent with some substances and you need to quit it so that you can finish school, how they can help you with that. Mental well-being, for anything from anxiety to like more serious disorders. And then financial stability. So if you're just struggling how to make ends meet, those are crisis issues. And on our campus, we have resources to help you with those. You can call the phone number, you can visit the website linked on the syllabus. Disability support services. So these are great services for anybody who has any learning disabilities or struggles. Even if it's something like getting extra time to take a quiz or extra time to complete an assignment. If you might be able to have somebody take notes for you during class. That one might be a little harder because we don't meet together and the note taker has to volunteer. But there are workarounds for that too. Like if nobody wants to volunteer, it can just become an assignment that people take turns being like the note taker of the class for that day. So we really want to make sure that no matter what your abilities are, that you're able to access all of our learning and all of our educational offerings that we have at DVC. So I'll do what I can. I really like to try and make my content appeal to multiple learning styles. So I try to really avoid just constantly being bombarded by text that you just have to read to yourself. So whenever possible, I like to try and do, like voiceover recordings for PowerPoint slides, or even just a voice recording for an assignment sheet, or videos like this where we have a long document to read, that I can read it to you and we can have a space for asking questions. So for anything, even if you don't feel like you identify as needing a disability service, maybe just go in and check out with the center and see what help there is for you, no matter what your learning style is. Maybe they have some accommodations that you might really benefit from. So call the number, visit the website linked in your syllabus. And then finally, for student life, on your Insight dashboard thing, there's DVC Sync, which is your portal to student life offices. They have campus services, workshops. They put on such good workshops. The Brown Bag series of workshops, it looks really great. I mean, I don't have the time for it, and I'm not a student here, but like they have some really great workshops for student success, professional success, time management, stress management. They have such cool workshops. Discounts on dining and housing. And then like food resources, so you can get access. Oh, and then student government is also through the DVC Sync. You know, get involved with campus community. Just because you're online doesn't mean you're completely disconnected. If you have any questions or comments about anything from page 5, please use the replies so we can talk about those in more detail.